going, everybody? Welcome back to In the Pit. My name is Steve, and we are continuing along with viewer request week, and we're doing another Band-Maid video. I just got so many requests to check them out that I had to do more than one. So last time around, we listened to the combination of Black Hole and Manners, and now we are checking out the song Don't You Tell Me. This is another live video. I'm not sure if it's from one of the two sessions we've seen previously, because the first time I listened to them with the song Hate, it was obviously one, live performance, and then the last one was around was a separate one. So I'm not sure if maybe this is a third separate one or all tied together. We shall see once we get into it. But the last time around with Black Hole and Manners, I really enjoyed that. Not to say that I didn't like the first song I heard, Hate. It's a good song, don't get me wrong, but I really, really enjoyed what I heard last time out. So I am looking forward to hearing what they have to offer here. I like hearing the different kind of sounds that they combine together. They are definitely the farthest thing from One Trick Pony. I thought the last two songs we listened to were really strong from a musical perspective, really highlighted the vocal harmonies, and as well as the bass player. And then the last song, Black Hole, just because of the pace throughout the song, the drummer was obviously really, really bringing it there. So I am looking forward to it. No reason to dilly-dally around any further. Let's get back into the pit with Band-Maid. All right, what we got? Sorry, I didn't realize that wasn't in full screen. This is definitely the most modern sounding song that they that I've listened to so far. This sounds very contemporary, whereas the other three tracks we've heard were obviously very steeped and rooted in influences I'm sure they have pulled from. I dig it. The subtitles got me cracking up a little bit. I'm assuming when she says "die for me" and it's D-Y-E, she's probably not talking about tie dye, and it's probably the dye, just dead. But I dig it. It's nice to hear them sound a little bit different, but it still sounds like them. Like if this came on blindly after the last song I heard, I could tell that it's obviously got a little bit different sound, but I could still tell it's the same band. I'm starting to hear enough of them where I can probably pick them out now. If I were to hear a song that I have never heard before, I could probably say, oh, that's probably them. But I dig it. I like the fact that they aren't afraid to try different sounds. They're not locked into one thing. That's a handicap that a lot of bands, sometimes it's self-imposed, and sometimes it's, just, hey, the fans really like us to sound this way, and this is what sells albums and sells concert tickets, so this is kind of what we have to do. It's rare where bands really take a drastic change, and it's not like these songs are drastically different from each other, but you can definitely hear that they've got a lot of influences going around in their head that they're not afraid to play around with, so it's pretty refreshing. So why don't we keep going? That was a really tasteful transition. That was really good. That solo section back and forth was excellent. I think comparing that to the to Hate, where they do it, they do it again. I thought this one was better. I thought this one played off better musically. I think the drummer was really supporting them very nicely. That transition between the initial guitar solo over to the bass solo was handled very well. And then obviously they start to pick up, a more frenetic pace until it climaxes and they kick back into the song proper. Really well done. They are just really, really solid musicians. They really are. They've got a knack for writing catchy riffs. Singer's got a knack for having really solid vocal cadences. Just really, really good stuff all the way around. You can tell that they're enjoying playing, pretty frequently, when the camera shows in these live performances, they're smiling. They look like they're having a good time on stage. I'm very glad that I, took the advice of that first comment on the video to check these guys out, because I'd never heard of this band. And, it's not like I'm keeping super close tabs on the Japanese music scene, but I've definitely, heard my fair share of Japanese bands that didn't really ever blow up in the States. And I'm honestly kind of surprised that I never crossed paths with them before. But I'm very glad that I have now. It's really, really solid stuff. So not really too much to comment on the gear, because we've seen this live setup before. I believe this has got to be from the same show, or at least same tour, I would say, as the Hate video was. There's actual fans there. The last time we looked around, it was a closed set. But I mean, their drummers playing the same stuff. There's really no need to get into that. Their stage setup has got a lot, it's no frills. They got the 2 video boards, and that's about it. I'm curious to see if they've ever done a show where they have like a lot more going on, because I think that they would lend themselves quite a bit to that kind of just classic rock live setup of having, pyro going off and the concussion blasts and having a little bit of theatrics to go along with it. I think that it definitely wouldn't be surprising to see them incorporate some of that stuff if they haven't already. But yeah, we'll be back in just a moment with some final thoughts. Yeah, once again, great song. Really enjoy everything that I've heard so far by them. I wish I had more to say about it, but I mean, at this point, it's really hard to say anything that I haven't said. There's really no criticism. It's a good song. There's nothing wrong with the song to really nitpick at. Everybody is on top of things. I think the one nice thing is I'm sure that bass player absolutely loves playing in this band, because there's so many bands that would just de-emphasize her role in it, because so many bands just de-emphasize the role of a bass player. And it's funny because, that was the running joke for so long, is that bass players were really kind of an afterthought. And then, probably the most famous example of that is Injustice for All by Metallica, which the bass is removed from the album. There's no bass on that album. And then now these days, it's really kind of drummers are becoming an afterthought and are really only used live. There are a lot of bands right now that, even though they have a full-time drummer that they consider a full member, just like anybody else in the band, they are not recording them live in the studio. They are just simply doing MIDI tracks that sound lifelike enough that they don't need to bring that drummer into the studio. A lot of bands are recording at home, not just because of everybody kind of getting used to being at home because of the pandemic. The music industry especially kind of thrived during that because people were kind of trapped and they had nothing else to do besides create and work on music. And a lot of bands were just recording at home, and they could just send the tracks out. If they needed the other guitar player to track and they didn't live locally, they could send that out. They could send it out to the vocalist. But for the drummer, recording drums is a lot more difficult these days than it is to record a guitar player. Guitar players have a lot of options for plugging directly into a computer using a virtual effects board and a virtual amp that sound damn good, to the point where you don't know when you're listening to the song what their setup was to record. And now, you've got bands that are just going the MIDI route for drums. And then when they go to tour, they bring the live drummer back in to play, and they have to learn the stuff. And it's just, for me playing drums, I could never imagine being replaced in the studio. I would want to be there. I'd want to have that input. But that's just kind of the way things are. So it's nice to see a band that really emphasizes all of its members, because all their members have a lot of strengths. They're all really good players. So it's refreshing to see. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you once again for getting in the pit, and we will see you again real soon.